If I told you that f of x equals 2x plus 3, we'll start out easy. And then I asked you what was, let's say, f of 1. What does that tell you to do? Substitute the 1 for the x. That tells you that whatever is in parentheses, that's what goes in for the x, right? So 2, oh, it's not x, it's 1 plus 3, right? You guys have done that before. What if I asked you what was f of y? You're still same concept. You're replacing the x with what's in parentheses, right? What if I asked you what is f of x plus 2? Same thing. The x is getting replaced with x plus 2, right? So it's 2, and it's not x anymore, it's x plus 2 plus 3. Yes, composing. I told you f of x was x minus 5, and that g of x was 2x plus 1. Now what if I asked you to find f of g of x? Don't let that intimidate you the way it looks, because really close. You're multiplying them together. I don't want to multiply them together. What I want to do is I want to take this, I want to replace every x in f with g of x. Right? So what is g of x? 2x plus 1. So now I'm doing the same thing I did on the slide before. So I'm replacing this x, so it's not x anymore, it's 2x plus 1 minus 5. What's 1 and negative 5? Does that make sense? What about flipping around? Now what are you plugging in? I'm plugging in x minus 5. So I'm going to do g of x minus 5. Right? So 2 x minus 5 plus 1. Does that make sense? Do you see what we're plugging in where? Okay, I heard a no. Inside the parentheses is f of x. The first one or the second one? The green one or the blue one? Okay. G of x is 2x plus 1. Do you agree? So I replaced this with 2x plus 1. Which then tells me, look at f. This one? Okay, so f is x minus 5, right? X minus 5. I took the x off and I replaced it with what was in parentheses there. Do you see that? This was x and then minus 5. Whatever's in parentheses completely takes the place of x. So same thing here. F of x is x minus 5, right? So I look at g, and everywhere there's an x, I replace it with x minus 5. So 2, not x, but x minus 5, plus 1. Are you back on the blue? Yeah. 1 and negative 5. Combine like terms. Here, I need to distribute. Yes. Combine your like terms. The point is that it doesn't matter what's in parentheses. Whatever is in parentheses is completely replacing the x in the equation. Yes, we're going to do several more. These are easy examples. We're kind of beyond linear a little bit at this point. Y'all got that? Let's keep this same F and this same G for just a minute. And I want you to see if you can find G of X. Key here is work inside out, okay? Always start furthermost inside, all the way out. So what's G of X? 2x plus 1. So I'm going to look at G. Here's G. Everywhere there's an x, I'm going to replace it with 2x plus 1. If you could physically take that x out and drop that 2x plus 1 in, you would see it going in there. 2, it's not x, it's 2x plus 1 plus 1. Can you still see the G equation in here? 2x plus 1. Everything. X is the only thing changing, and whatever's in parentheses is what you're changing it to. Distribute, because you do have to simplify. 2 times 2x is 4x plus 2. The plus 1's still out there. Gather your like terms together. I'm gonna kick it up with a little bit harder equations. Which one? Here? In the original equation, it was on the end of that equation. Other questions? Hold on to your britches. Do what? Good? All right. Let's see if you understand. What's different? The 2. The 2 is different now. Now there's a 2 in there. Oh no, what do I do? Inside out. Okay? So I need to know what this is so I can plug it in for F, right? That's what we've been doing. We've been replacing those innermost parentheses with what we know. So I guess the question now is, do you know what G of 2 is? Can you find it? How? This is what I showed you in the very beginning. Plug in 2 for it. 2, here's G of X. So G of 2 is 2 times 2 plus 1. That's exactly right. So 2 times 2 is, plus 1 is 5. So that's half of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, I know what g of 2 is. G of 2 is 5, right? Are y'all following with me, or are you just writing it down? People are following with me. Nobody else has an answer. Okay, let me slow down a second. Then now let's find, we replace g of 2 with 5. So the question is, what's f of 5? Well, f of x is x minus 5. So then f of 5 must be 5 minus 5. The x gets dropped and gets replaced with 5. And you get 0. It just happened to be this what came out to be. So this, f of g of 2 is equal to 0. Try this one. Then I'm going to throw an exponent or two in there. Don't be so excited, John. Contain your excitement. Y'all are a rough crowd today. F of negative 1. It looks worse than it is. It really does. What do you do first? You find out, because the key to these is inside out. Inside out. So what is f of negative 1? Plug in negative 1. And what do you get? Everybody see where that came from? Okay. Now, it's not f of negative 1, it's f of negative 6. Inside out, right? So it's negative 6, which is let's redefine f and g and see what happens. Now we're going to kick it up to chapter 3 level. That's the concept. Yeah, that's it for that one. That's the whole concept, but we're going to make it a little bit harder by throwing in some different exponents in here. All right. If you plug in a number, you should get out a number. If you plug in a variable or a function, you should get out a variable or a function. What you plug in is what you should get out, if that makes sense. Let's say f of x is 4x to the negative 1. Let's say g of x is 5x minus 2. And let's say h of x is x squared plus 1. Y'all ready for this? Sure you are. I have confidence in you. Before I even start this, when I see a negative exponent there, tell me what that means exactly, because it might be easier if I can write that a little differently. That's right. That's right. What does the negative exponent do? Just flip it. It goes in the bottom. Now, the 4 is its own piece, okay? So it stays up top. So it's going to be 4 over x. No, you don't have to do that. You can do that later. It's up to you. That's just, I don't like negative exponents. All right, let's see what happens. What is g of h of x? Inside out. Inside out. Okay. Do you know what h of x is? Does everybody see that? H of x equals x squared plus 1. So I could replace h of x with x squared plus 1. Does that make sense?
Nah.
Nah?
Oh, yeah, it does.
Okay. So now I'm going to look at G. David! Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. Not really, just wake up. All right, so now I'm going to look at G, and I'm going to plug in x squared plus 1 for every x in G. Okay? So, 5. Everybody sees G, right? 5 is not x anymore. What is it? X squared plus 1 minus 2. Everybody see where that comes from? I didn't use that function for this one. I just used the G and the H. We will in just a minute. Okay, can I simplify that any? Yes, what do? Distribute. I get 5x squared plus 5 minus 2. Like terms? 5 and negative 2, which is? 3. Some of your gears are turning. I see them. How about, let's turn it around backwards. I'm saving that F for last here. I'm almost done, I promise. This one's a little harder, and you'll see why when we plug in. H of G of X. What do I do first? Okay. You want me to hold up because you're trying to do it on your own, or you want me to hold up because you're not caught up with me yet? That was a question. Okay, I'll give you a second. A bit harder. All right, first thing is G of X. What is G of X? 5x minus 2. So I'm going to look to H, and everywhere there's an X, I'm going to plug in 5x minus 2. Ready? Okay. Uh-oh. All right. I've got x squared, right? So it's going to be 5x minus 2 squared plus 1. Now be very careful. Can I distribute that exponent through there? No. Mine not going, yes, you can, means no, you can't. Say no. Remember, if you're multiplying or dividing in here, you can. But adding or subtracting sets you up for a FOIL problem. That's why this one's harder than the other. Okay? If you see addition or subtraction in the parentheses, you cannot distribute an exponent. This is one of the most common mistakes students make. Do not, do not, do not. So, how do I FOIL this? Yep. 5x times 5x is? Minus 10x? Minus 10x. What's negative 2 times negative 2? It's just 4. The plus 1's still there. Don't lose it in the process. Like terms? Do you have any? 25x squared stands alone. Negative 10x and negative 10x is, what is it? Negative 20. Y'all don't get hung up on the easy stuff. And 4 and 1 is x. I really want to show you, if you hadn't put the x in the bottom first, and then if you did put the x in the bottom first, how it makes a difference, you're going to still come back to the same answer. All right. No, 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 you don't have to. All right. G of x, what is it?
5x.
Yes? So now what I want to do is plug this in for the x and f. Okay? So what happens is if you didn't move that x down, it might be a little bit harder for you to see that the exponent goes to everything, right? So if you have it set up as 4 over x, it's already simplified for you because you kind of worked with it in the beginning. Now, if you didn't, and you don't have to write this one down, but if you just plugged in 4 times and you replace this 5x minus 2 to the negative 1, it's the same thing. All of this goes down. So it becomes 4 over. You get the same thing as what I'm getting at. Tell me what you think about composition.